It's time for the Everyday Ag Podcast. And here's your host, Patrick Twining.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Everyday Ag Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Twining. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. I'd like to start off with a little show correction from our last show. I'd be remiss to not go back and correct myself. If you'll remember, we talked about what I like to fondly call the Rochester Zoo and Aquarium. All of the animals that my wife Emily and I take care of and nurture and all that good stuff. In all of that menagerie, I forgot to mention two of the biggest players, most influential players of the whole menagerie, Cappy and Mac. Cappy is a messed that one up. They're both horses. We'll go with that. Mac is a quarter horse. Cappy's yep, I'm still losing it. I'm dropping the name on what he is, but either way, I need to bring those two up as I forgot to mention them last time and got reminded of that when I left here. The last 2 weeks, this Ohio weather has been miserable. One thing that you will never find me complaining about is the 90s and triple-digit weather in the summer. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying you won't hear me complain about it. The weather we've had the last 2 weeks, the temperatures we've had the last 2 weeks, nothing is good. I know our neighbors in the Midwest and our neighbors to the north of us have a lot colder temperatures, a lot worse winters, but I don't live any of those places, so I don't have to worry about that. But, when we have those cold temperatures, the water freezes, engines freeze, brains freeze. There's just nothing good that comes out of that. And in the agricultural world, in the agricultural industry, you think you're ready for winter, and it doesn't matter how ready you are, you're not. You're nowhere near ready. At least I'm never ready. You think you have enough de-icers, thawing units for your water tanks, and then one of them dies, or you realize that you need an extra tank and you don't have that de-icer, and then you're out with a sledgehammer or a pipe or something, trying to break ice and carrying buckets of hot water, and it's just not fun. But the last 2 weeks also really opened my eyes and reminded me of why I'm doing this podcast. Leading up to our last show, I'm very OCD and everything's got to be planned out. So I had all the shows planned out. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that, every show. And then last Sunday happened and Monday happened and the weather didn't improve. And I remembered that in agriculture, in life in general, I suppose, but mainly in agriculture, especially with livestock, everyday life is the good, the bad, and the ugly, just like the old Westerns. This show is going to be a lot of the bad and the ugly, and I'm going to do my best not to just complain to you the whole show, but more tell you what I've gone through in the last 2 weeks, because that is the name of the show, Everyday Ag. So let's dive into it. The first thing that I dealt with on that 2 Sundays ago now, I have in my barn, it's an old tie stall barn. So if you're not familiar with that, each cow essentially has a cubicle. They're dividers through the barn, and when we were milking, and even, years ago, it was kind of the norm. The cows were all tied in each of, in their own stall, and that's where they spent their day. During the day in the summer, they'd go out on the pasture. At night, they might go out to a loafing shed, something like that. But while they're milking, while they're eating, while they're doing their job, they're in that stall, in that cubicle, if you will. The very end of my barn, I have essentially a junk drawer. It's a junk stall. That's where everything accumulates. Old pipes, 4x4s, 4x6s, fence wire, you name it, it goes there. No animals go in that stall. I do due diligence to block that stall off so that no animals go there. The barn's set up now, since I don't use the tie stalls like we used to, I have the west end of the barn just open where the cows can come in and out as they please. Most of the time, when the weather's nice, like tonight, for instance, they're locked outside. They have a place to sleep. They have good bedding. They have feed. They have all that stuff. It's just easier maintenance on the day-to-day chores of not having to clean wheelbarrow loads of manure out of the barn. Anyhow, I digress. Sunday morning, I get to the farm, and the first thing I do when I get there is I walk through the barn and check on everybody, make sure everybody's, they've got hay in front of them, they've got water, they're happy, they're content, and then I go on with my day of my regular morning chores. Sprinkles, the one bred heifer, so she's getting ready to have her own baby here this summer. She decides overnight, while I I opened that end of the barn up so that they could come in at night, since it was going to be miserably cold and they could sleep inside in the straw where it's warm, where they're under cover, not getting snowed on. Well, she decides that she's going to work her way into the junk drawer, if you will, and get stuck. Now, she's not big by any means. If there wasn't everything else in that stall, it wouldn't be a problem. She could just, go in, lay down, get back up, whatever. Well, she decided that she was going to lay down on top of all of that junk, or fell down, I'm not sure. Again, it was the middle of the night when she did it, I'm guessing. So while it's single digits and snowing and blowing, I need to get her out of there because she's clearly not comfortable. The tractor won't start. It's freezing. The engine's cold. There's no block heater on that tractor. It's crank it, choke it, finally get it started, let it warm up. I go back in the milk house, in the kind of my office now of the barn, and get warmed up because we keep that at 50 degrees. Go back out, get a chain, which is also froze to the ground. Go down to the end of the barn because she's down there towards the end, and I rig up heavy nylon rope and everything to pull her back, which, as detrimental as that sounds, you've got to remember that she's a 1,200-pound animal, and that's the only way one person is moving her. So I'm working on that, getting her pulled back, going in, getting warmed up, coming back out, moving more junk out of the way that she's got stuck underneath her and everything. Finally get her back enough to where she can get up. And she's so stressed and tired that she just shoves herself back forward and gets stuck again. So I end up having to cut the front of the stall out so that she can just get up and go into the manger, into the hay. I'm working on this, mind you, at 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. She doesn't finally get up until almost 4 o'clock. And she's stiff and she's sore, and I was worried she was injured. Luckily, she's fine now. But that was the start of the day that took much longer than it needed to. So now that I've got that done, the waters are froze. So I've got to carry 5-gallon buckets to all the water tanks, get those thawed out, all of that good stuff. Then I go out to the pig barn. And I have a torpedo heater out there because it's closed in. And in theory, it'll stay warm out there, but it's not insulated. So if I have a torpedo heater running, hopefully it'll at least keep the chill off. Nope. It runs on diesel fuel, and the diesel fuel's gelled up, and it's off. It shuts off. So I spent probably a half hour to 45 minutes trying to get that to go. Diesel 911, all that great stuff. And it just keeps petering out. It can't keep the fuel warm. It can't start. So the pigs that are used to at least 50-degree temperatures are now living in a barn where it's about 10 degrees. And they're not happy. So here we go, throwing more straw out of the mow and carrying it out there to bed them down with plenty of straw so that they're happy, which helped. We bed them down. They stayed warm enough. Still mad and stressed out that the heater won't start. But that's that. Then I need to go get feed for everybody. Remember how I said it was cold and diesel fuel's gelling up and all of that great stuff? My truck is a diesel. Where's the cord for the block heater? I don't know. It's got a block heater on it. I spent, 10, 20 minutes rolling around in the snow trying to find the cord for the block heater because I know it's not going to start. Didn't find it. I just gave up on that. Took my car and got feed, and it is what it is. I've got a big trunk, and we made it work. My truck finally started. See, today's Wednesday. I finally started on Monday when it got warm enough that it actually wanted to do something. So that's been my life the past 2 weeks with the farm stuff. Is cold weather is just no fun. But what do you do? I mean, we live in Ohio, and it's, in the 40s today and raining. Like they say, wait 10 minutes and the weather will change. I'm going to take a quick break for our sponsors, and then we'll get back into more, for lack of better terms, complaining. So, obviously, like I told you guys last time, the show is brought to you in part by Keller Meats in Litchfield, just north of the Circle on State Route 83. They are your prime destination for your locally sourced beef, pork, lamb, and goat custom processing, as well as a full retail counter. Go to kellermeats.com or visit them on Facebook for more information. And while we're working at it, have you heard about the creamy delight waiting for you at Carlisle Creamery? Introducing their small herd share program, bringing you the finest raw milk straight from the happiest pasture-raised Ayrshire cows north of Route 20. At Carlisle Creamery, the Hamkers believe in the purity of nature. Their cows graze on lush green pastures, producing milk rich in flavors and nutrients. Join their herd share today and experience the goodness of farm-fresh raw milk right in your own home. Get to know your producer and the cows personally and see firsthand where this wholesome product is being produced. Become a part of the Carlisle Creamery family today. Look them up on Facebook or email them at carlislecreamery@gmail.com. That's capital C in both Carlisle and Creamery, one word, at gmail.com. Taste the difference at Carlisle Creamery, where every sip tells a story of pure, wholesome goodness. And don't forget, know your producer, know where your milk is coming from. All right, back at the show. Cold weather. It's just no fun. Sorry, I'll keep telling you that over and over again. Like I said, I don't like 90 and 100-degree temperatures, but you will not hear me complain about it because everything works and everything is in great shape. Might be hot, might be miserable, especially in Ohio. It's going to be humid, but we deal with it. You run a couple fans, you know the fans are going to start. You run some misters, keep everybody happy. So going back to the junk stall and that mess of a barn, I guess I call it a mess because there again, I'm OCD and I'm seldom happy with the way things are. But that barn is old. It was built in, I think, 56, long before I was around. The original barn at the farm burned down, and the new barn was built, which is called a hip roof barn. So it's a block wall base, 9 foot tall, roughly. And then above that is a round roof. It's kind of like a greenhouse was shaped, but on top of a barn, shingles. Some are metal. Ours was shingle. Our barn was one of the first barns of that style built. And back then, it was innovative, and it was going to be the next style barn. The storage space for hay is unbelievable. The amount of hay that we've put in that barn over the years, I don't even want to think about because that was a lot of work. But the problem with our barn is I think, if I'm thinking correctly, 250 some feet long. Maybe even pushing 300 feet, so close to a football field long. Those barns, in hindsight, were not built to be that long. And so now the roof is bowing out, falling in on itself. We've put telephone poles in that building, in the roof, when I was younger, to hold the center of the roof up because the length, the structure just can't support it. And now over the years, it's very dilapidated. And so on a day like today, where the snow's melting and it's raining, the water just rushes into that barn. We make do. But also, as I was telling you, I don't need the stalls, cubicles, if you will, for my animals. So everything is set up into box stalls, bigger areas. So slowly, as I transition into my style of how I want the cows to be in there, there's fixing that's done on a daily basis almost. Now, in the past year, that's taken a back burner to the pig barn, getting the pig barn ready, getting it where it needs to be, and that's just about to its finality. Obviously, there's going to be more changes that need done there as time goes on, but pretty much everything is done in the pig barn. So now we have to go back and focus on the dairy barn, getting headlocks installed, making pens more conducive for the animals, especially the ones I'm breeding for, which are bigger in nature, so they don't fit in those smaller stalls. Tearing those out, trying to keep the water away, slowly working on updating electric in the barn. There's just a lot of work in that barn that gets done. That now that it's cold, I guess now I will start working on those projects. But it also makes you wonder, at what point do you just say, hey, maybe this facility is old and outdated, and it's time to update and time to go brand new, which is great if you have money, which I don't. And I don't want to play the lottery, so the barn's got to be retrofitted to the way I need it, and we slowly work on that, and ideally, hopefully, we can get a new roof put on that barn yet here in 2024. Is that going to happen? We'll see. Time will tell. One other thing that I'd like to key on is I'm starting to run out of time. I had a very, I don't want to call it fun encounter, because they're never fun in this instance. But I was called on by one of the families that I breed cows for, the Myers family. They were having an issue with a cow birthing, having her calf. Want to know if I could come assist. No problem, I'm on the way. Always glad to help in an instant like that. So I went over, and thank God the vet beat me there. They had the sense to call the vet, and I'll tell you right now, although any of you that know me know, if I have something wrong, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm just going to hope that it goes away and figures itself out. But with your animals, especially since they can't talk to you and tell you what's wrong, always call your vet. If something is going wrong, something sideways, make sure you have a good relationship with your local vet, whether it's small animal or large animal. Again, I digress. So I get to their farm. That was here just 4 days ago, this past Sunday, at, I think probably around now, 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. It was dark, cold. And like I said, I'm glad the vet was there. He was already palpating the cow, reaching in to see what the calf was doing, whatnot. And he worked hard on that calf. Naturally, calves are born just as humans are, head first. So I like to use the analogy of calves come out as if you were diving head first off a diving board. Head first, arms straight up, up above your head and out in that, natural arch. This calf was backwards, or I believe in human medicine terms, I believe that's breech. Not only backwards, but upside down, which is really not good. And Mama was trying to push all 4 feet out at the same time. And when I tell you that vet worked, he was really working. He had to push the front feet back in so that they were, so that the calf would be streamlined. Then he had to rotate the calf 180 degrees, and then we could start the process of extracting the calf, if you will, with a pulling jack, which, again, sounds excruciating, but when you're dealing with animals of this size, sometimes industrial power is important. So we finally got the calf out, righted around, pulled out. I had to, pretty much I was there to hold hands. But it was also needed. We had to put the cow in a grooming chute so that she wouldn't thrash side to side. Again, this is a 1,600-pound beef cow in a not chintzy, it's actually a top-of-the-line chute, but it's an aluminum chute that weighs all of, 200 pounds maybe, easily moved around by one person. So she was all but set to flip that sucker over on herself. So I had to stand bracing myself on the chute to hold it up while the vet was working. She finally laid down so that we could jack the calf out. But what a mess that was. Obviously, unfortunately, the calf didn't make it. The cow was 3 weeks early, so as nature works, she was probably trying to get the calf out early for a reason. The calf was obviously, dead before any of this was even happening, unfortunately. But there again, another part of the bovine world that we deal with. We always want live, healthy, thriving calves. We don't always get what we wish. As I'm wrapping up the show here, of course, you can always catch this show on my YouTube channel, which is the Everyday Ag Podcast YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search it. You'll find us. You can listen to this show again whenever you'd like. It'll take a couple days for us to get it all done up and ready for YouTube. But as soon as I have that, I will get it uploaded. And if you ever have ideas or questions for this show, feel free to email me or send a message to the Facebook page. That's the Butter Pig Partners Facebook page. Or you can email me at butterpigpartners@gmail.com. Also, new since the last show, we've got merch. I'm so excited about that. One of my great friends, Dawn at Crafty Dawn Boutique, however you say that, has helped me out with this to set up T-shirts, sweatshirts, and koozies. So you can go to craftydawnboutique.com. And I would say your best bet there is if you just go to the search icon and type in the Everyday Ag Podcast, it'll bring up your options. Men's and women's tees are $25 a piece. Sweatshirts are $50, and koozies are $5. And again, we may add more things. So if there's something that you guys would like to see, we can work on possibly adding that in. We'll see if there's any interest in that before I do that. And as always, if you are listening or if you know someone who's in the local grassroots ag industry and you would like to sponsor this podcast, I'm always looking for sponsors. Shoot me a message on Facebook. Email me if you've got my number or can get my phone number. Feel free to give me a call. Be glad to have you as a sponsor on the podcast. This is the purpose of this show is, to help local ag and to get the word out there about what we do every day. Obviously today you got to hear the not so great parts of ag. That's what we're doing. Hopefully, once the weather breaks and we get into springtime and summer, we'll have fun stuff to talk about, especially as we get guests on the show, and they'll have fun stuff to tell you about also. So, again, thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And I think we've got 3 weeks now before the next show because January's got an extra week in it. But again, the second Tuesday in February, which I believe is Valentine's Day. We'll see you right back here on OBL, or if you're checking in on the YouTube channel when I put it on there. Thanks for listening. Stay warm. Hopefully we've got good weather.
1320 AM and
See you around.
107.7 FM. WOBL Oberlin.